Despite pressure from many people and politicians, the Liberals will not table a budget. Rather, they've been open about their almost $500 billion spending package, which is a flaming hot dumpster full of waste and wokeness. Under the leadership of our prime globalist, Maximum Carnage, Canada has signed on as an official partner to the recently adopted WHO Global Pandemic Treaty, so that's bad. Finally, some statist rag has written a hit piece on consistently Christian organizations and churches, with the ultimate goal being laying the groundwork for removing their charitable status. It's hard to believe, but we're almost at the halfway point of Pride Comes Before Destruction Month, and I'm here for it. And all of the spicy takes, we'll bring them to you. It's June 12th. I'm Andrew DeBartolo. That's Matt Hallick. This is Liberty Dispatch.
Hey friends, and welcome back to Liberty Dispatch, where we bring you Canadian conservative news and analysis from an unapologetically Christian perspective. If you like what we do, you know what to do. Please help us by sharing the videos, by liking them, by subscribing if you have not already done that. But most importantly, get over to ldcanada.substack.com so you can sign up for everything we've got going on there by subscribing to our mailing list. And if you would, please become a paid subscriber so you can get access to all the full array of Liberty Dispatch content, including our exclusive interviews. So we would suggest that you get over there, ldcanada.substack.com. And Andrew, I know you recorded some bull Bitcoin sessions not too long ago, and we are closing in on the release of that later this week. So we just want to highlight that for people.
So we have the 3 sessions. And if you are a regular subscriber, you'll be able to watch the 3 30-minute webinars that Pablo from Bull Bitcoin did. However, if you are a paid subscriber, you will also have access to the Q&A session, which is about another 20 to 30 minutes at the end of each of those webinars. So really good stuff there. ldcanada.substack.com. Become a paid subscriber. Get access to all of our content. You're not going to want to miss those Q&A sessions and future interviews that we run. Markets have been turbulent this year, but uncertainty doesn't have to mean instability. Our friends at Rocklinc Investment Partners will help you navigate volatility with a disciplined, research-driven approach. They don't chase trends or speculate. They invest in quality businesses poised to perform strongly regardless of the ever-changing politics in our country and the world. Don't let market swings dictate your future. Call 905-631-5462 or send them an email at info@rocklinc.com and see how they can help you secure your financial future. So big episode today. Lots of important things. If you recall, friends, Carney's Liberals said they wouldn't table a budget this spring, but that they would release some sort of fall economic statement, whatever that is. And they were rightly criticized by everyone for it, and in a, I think, rather stunning display of unity and common sense. Mm-hmm. The NDP, the Conservatives, the Green, and the Bloc parties all agreed that the Liberals should, in fact, table a budget now. So here's some of the interactions in the House of Commons where you have this multi-pronged attack on our prime chameleon regarding the budget release.
From this Liberal government. Last night, a Conservative motion passed calling on the Prime Minister to table a budget this spring. The Liberals are asking Parliament to approve $500 billion in Liberal spending with no budget. Despite promising to spend less and cap government spending at 2%, they've increased it by 8%. Single moms, seniors, small business owners must budget before they spend. Parliament wants these Liberals to do the same. Will the minority Liberal government listen to the majority in this House and table a budget immediately?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister. Mr. Speaker,
This week was a great week for the London Knights. It was a greater week for the country of Canada.
He's trying to be super Canadian by making so many hockey references.
From Quebec, from the provinces, from the territories, Government of Canada agreed on a plan to build Canada strong. One Canadian economy out of 13. That's what the province comes before.
The honourable member for Okanagan Lake West, South Kelowna.
Thanks for the update, but what about a budget? Canadians deserve real fiscal management, not excuses or fact-free talking points. And here's some of the facts. Liberal consultant spending is expected to rise 35% to $26 billion, breaking their promise to cut down on consultants. Fact. Wow. Liberals promised $20 billion in elbows up U.S. tariffs, but later dropped them with no regard to affected Canadian workers or fiscal impacts. Fact. The majority of this chamber voted last night for a spring budget. Fact. On what date would the Liberals face the facts and table a budget for their $500 billion in new spending?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
You love this. Better than the WE.
Mr. Speaker, the First Ministers agreed on a plan to build this great country. Stand up to Donald Trump. Fact. That's right. Mr. Speaker, the Government of Canada is imposing tariffs that cause maximum impact on the United States, minimum impact on Canada. Fact. On over $60 billion.
The numbers do not bear that out.
Exports to Canada. Fact. Raised over $1.7 billion already. Fact.
We'll just say the same word, and it's going to be great.
For Edmonton West.
$73 billion spent while Parliament was shut down by this government. A spending package of $500 billion with a record $26 billion for Liberal-friendly consultants like McKinsey, and no oversight or scrutiny from Parliament. Well, this House has had enough. Last night, the House passed our Conservative motion.
There's a couple decent guys in the back there.
Observation and analysis of our economic situation. So
Canadians and this
no, he won't.
Transparency we deserve.
Nope.
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
I like Veerson's new glasses. Good job,
Speaker.
Arnold.
Mr. Speaker, we take note of last night's motion. But what Canadians deserve, what Canadian provinces deserves, is a health care transfer, is a transfer for child care, is a transfer for dental care, is a transfer to support affordability.
I'm Canadian. I don't care about that stuff.
The support of members opposite.
No, that's terrible.
I care about a budget more.
Member for Edmonton West.
Why do all the Liberal men have the fattest heads I've ever
But all
seen?
those things would be in a budget if you table one.
Oh.
Mr. Speaker, this year alone, this government is going to spend a staggering $26 billion on high-priced, Liberal-friendly consultants, an eye-watering $1,400 for every Canadian family. They'll present no budget, no departmental plans, and zero transparency. They won't even stand in this House and tell Canadians what the deficit will be this year. Will the Liberals come clean, table the spring budget as this House has demanded?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, unlike the member opposite, I know the difference between main estimates and budget. Unlike the member opposite, I know how to grow. Unlike the member opposite, I know how to grow this economy.
Whenever things get to the point where I can't hear, that's when I stand up and halt time. So would the Right Honourable Prime Minister like to back up a bit and take another run at it?
It's not going to be any better this time.
I will speak softly. Unlike the member opposite, I know the difference between a main estimate and a budget. And unlike the members opposite, we know how to grow this economy without spending money. And that's why we're proposing.
Come on.
Canadian economy out of 13, and all the provinces and Quebec agree.
Oh my goodness. The fact that he can even say that with a straight face is just unbelievable.
What I found interesting about that was the new Speaker of the House. His whole why you should vote for me is we need to restore order to the House. It's gotten too out of control. Personal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
And then what does Carney do? Carney just engages in ad hominem. And what does the Speaker of the House do? Nothing, because he's a liberal. It's a joke.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just waiting for the glass to shatter and someone to come out and give Stone Cold Stunners to everyone.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's not that entertaining, but it's pretty crazy. I mean,
so let's take a little bit of a look.
Sold to be a liberal politician, because that
let's dive just
brutal.
a little bit in. So this $486 million spending plan.
Yeah.
We got to look at a little bit that. So I think this is Global News talking about it, and this is what he's being criticized for, that you want to spend all this money, and yet you're not going to give us a budget to show us how it's all going to work down.
David Aiken is taking a closer look at what's in them and what's missing. David.
Well, Donna, the spending plan tabled in Parliament this week gives Canadians really the first outline of how the Carney government's finances will be different from the Trudeau government.
They won't.
Worse.
Even worse.
Mark Carney promised more fiscal discipline, and he plans to spend $486 billion this year. That's about the same as the Trudeau government did last year. But even that is too much for the Conservatives.
Just like Justin Trudeau, Mark Carney's spending is absolutely out of control. In fact, it's worse.
This week's spending plan is certain to change in the fall once it is updated with the $24 billion in new spending commitments the Liberals made during the election campaign. The plan really is a first step, a baseline, and one required to essentially keep the government's lights on. Still, MPs will be asked to vote on it without the benefit of having a budget, which would detail how the government plans to raise the revenue for all this spending.
With the economic storm clouds moving in, how is it possible not to have a budget this spring?
Moreover, MPs will be asked to vote on this spending with few details about it, though the government promises ministers will provide details later.
There will be extensive examination with ministers being accountable for those sums in the House of Commons, more than that has ever occurred in recent memory.
Now, MPs will have to vote on this spending plan, and it will be a matter of confidence.
No, in the last week.
No one expects the government to fall when that vote comes sometime in June. Donna.
All right, David Aiken, thank you.
My word. They're so crass, man. They're so ballsy. You got to give it to them. They're just like, we're going in, we're going to pull the wool over people's eyes. We're going to feed them a bunch of propaganda. And it's worked the last 4 times, so let's just keep going back to the well.
And we're going to spend all this money. We're not going to tell you how we're going to get it. We're not going to tell you where we're going to get the revenue. And we're not going to give you detailed breakdown.
How dare you ask, actually? Yeah. And how dare you ask? Just trust us, man. I was a central banker, Andrew.
Oh, and all the premiers agree. You know, the ones that I have them by the short and curlies, and I'm not going to release funds to them unless they agree with me. Trust all of those guys I'm extorting. Oh, of course.
Yeah, which basically every premier across this country, with maybe the exception of Scott Moe and Danielle Smith, is an absolute disaster. Like, it's, oh my goodness,
so
Andrew.
We'll see. I mean, obviously the rest of Parliament agreed on the motion that they should table the budget. There's no teeth behind it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So we're probably not going to see anything before the fall.
Well, it's looking like they're like, McKinnon kind of came out and he's like, well, it doesn't have any actual weight behind it. Like we're actually not held to it, so we're probably not going to do it. And there you go. That's
kind of wild for a minority government. That's wild for a minority government to have that kind of. I mean, it's one thing if they're a majority, and they say we're not going to table it, but it's another thing when the majority of the House of Commons says table a budget.
Yeah, it's pretty ballsy, because like literally they've had like one vote on one thing and they lost it, and they're just going to be like, nah, we're not going to. Also, I got to say something. Do you notice how in the back and forth of those videos, what's with the Bloc Quebecois people like holding up their translators to the like? What, you guys aren't in a foreign country, like you guys know?
Can they all speak English? I don't know. Can they?
Well, it's the leader of the party and is like deputy minister. Like, of course they speak English. He debated in English. So, like, I mean, talk about theater, right? Talk about pantomime. He's like, oh, you know, I'm so French. I need to listen to the French translation.
I need to make sure I get all the words correct for my constituents. I have to make sure 100% of what they say is accurate, so I can accurately represent my constituents.
Yeah, clown census. That's what we get in Parliament. It's unbelievable stuff.
So here we have this minority government that does whatever it wants to do. This is probably a good reason for you to think about, hey, it might be wise for me to consider my security and my privacy in the online world, especially if they're going to ram through their third attempt at an online censorship bill. It might be a good idea
in light of our next story too.
Yeah. So, and you might be asking, well, Andrew, how can I take measures to really beef up my online security and privacy? Great question. Glad you asked. Being a member of our audience, you most likely do research, watch videos, and read articles that contain good and true scientific and economic facts. But these would be sources that some people in positions of power would call a fringe minority with unacceptable views. The truth is, protecting your privacy as you engage in the online world should be a high priority for you. I want to help your online security with something that is actually safe and effective, and that is private internet access, the world's most transparent VPN provider. A VPN, or virtual private network, hides your IP address and safeguards your internet connection through an encrypted tunnel. So, say you wanted to donate money to a lawful and peaceful trucker protest in Ottawa, and you didn't want the Liberal government tracking you down and freezing your bank accounts. A VPN would be your friend, just as any Canadian would. Private internet access will also never record or store user data, and their no-logs policy has been proven multiple times in court and by third-party audit. It's very easy to use. Simply open up the app, click to connect, and that's it. PIA VPN is available for all platforms: Windows, Mac OS, Android, Linux, iOS, and many more. You'll also get to protect your entire household with one subscription. Our audience has access to an amazing special offer. If you sign up with private internet access by clicking on the link below and going to piavpn.com/libertydispatch, you will grab a discount of 83%. That's just $2.03 a month. And you'll also get 4 extra months completely free. I don't know if you've seen the price of eggs recently, but $2.03 a month for online peace of mind is incredible. Signing up for private internet access is risk-free. There's a 30-day money-back guarantee, and 24/7 customer support is available, so don't wait any longer. Protect your personal data, get out of Big Brother's sight, go to piavpn.com/libertydispatch to get 83% off private internet access with 4 free months.
Well, Andrew,
that's a good-looking guy. That's a good-looking
guy. Of course, your hair is quite a bit shorter, though.
Well, the hair could use a little bit of a touch-up, that's for sure.
I like how most people's hair like grows long, but yours just like grows up, like
up and out.
Just up and out. Wait, was a Slim Jim? You would be. Anyways,
Slim Jim. What are we talking about?
I think like, isn't that the guy with the tall hair? I don't know. My pop culture references aren't that good.
I think you mean Johnny Bravo, maybe.
Maybe, yeah, maybe. I don't know. You're handsome. Let's move on.
Thanks.
On May 20th, Andrew, quietly, without much fanfare, the WHO officially adopted its global pandemic treaty that we've been warning about. Ooh. And Carney...
Oh, wait, no. Boo. Sorry.
Has signed Canada on, of course, as an official partner to this no-good very bad piece of treaty. And here is a clip from
piece of treacle.
Treacle? Yeah, I don't know. It's bad. And here's a clip from the den of ghouls known as the UN.
The report contains one resolution to adopt the WHO pandemic agreement entitled Draft Resolution on the WHO pandemic agreement. Is the Assembly ready to adopt this resolution? I see no objection. The resolution is adopted.
Look at these.
Well, we should have played that clip from Star Wars where
last night
Senator Amidala says,
124 member states voted in favor and none against. And today, we celebrate. Today, you have sent a loud message that multilateralism not only works, but is the only way to find shared solutions
multilateralism,
to shared
international
threats.
Communism.
Let's not understate what you have achieved. You have made the world a safer place. I repeat, a safer place. It will not infringe on national sovereignty in any way.
If you know they're celebrating, it's bad news.
Give the WHO Secretariat power to impose mask or vaccine mandate or lockdowns. Anyone who says it will is clearly mistaken. You, the member states, have made that very clear in the text of the agreement itself. Your adoption this morning of the WHO pandemic agreement will rank among the most significant achievements in the history of this organization and of global health.
Ooh. You know, if he's stoked, we're in trouble, Andrew. You know, if he's stoked, we're in big trouble. And that's why we got to ask the question. So what kind of things do we actually find in this treaty? So the objective of the WHO pandemic agreement, guided by equity, and the principles further set forth herein, is to prevent, prepare for, and respond to pandemics. So right off the bat, Andrew, we have that buzzword of equity. So communism. And I said it as the clip was playing, but what is multilateralism? It's a multi-sided kind of multi-interest party to an agreement. And essentially, it can be a fancy word of saying international communism, globalism, whatever. That's what they're using, fancy buzzwords for a lot of really bad stuff. And speaking of buzzwords, communism and buzzwords, here's another one. Solidarity with all people and countries in the context of health emergencies. Which, by the way, Andrew, why, like, I mean, obviously we know unions are communist, but it's like, I keep seeing like nurses unions thing. They have like the Marxist fist. It's like they're not even hiding it anymore. It's crazy. Anyways, solidarity with all people and countries in the context of health emergencies. Oh my goodness. As well as inclusivity and transparency and accountability. Look at all these buzzwords. We've heard all this before. To achieve the common interest or the common good defined by them of a more equitable and oh my goodness, this is just, I mean, this is comical, and better prepared world to prevent, respond to, and recover from pandemics, recognizing different levels of capacities and capabilities, particularly of developing countries, including landlocked developing countries, as well as special circumstances of small island developing states and of least developed countries in relation to, oh my goodness, they couldn't have found a word to describe what they meant instead of talking about all this. In relation to pandemic prevention, preparedness, and response, the parties shall promote a One Health approach. It's health communism. Hey, there you go. For pandemic prevention, preparedness and response, recognizing that the health of the people is interconnected with animal health and the environment, that it is coherent, integrated, coordinated, and collaborative, centrally planned among all relevant organizations, sectors, and actors as appropriate in accordance with national or domestic law and applicable to international law and taking into account national circumstances. There you go. Wow, that was a mouthful, Andrew. A mouthful of communism.
Yeah.
A mouthful of health communism. That's what's buried in all that nonsense.
A spoonful of sugar makes the communism go down easy.
No, it doesn't.
No, it doesn't.
No, you need like a truck full of sugar, like poured directly in your mouth.
Well, it gets worse. So this is still from which we've linked to it. It's a lengthy document. It's full of woke speak. So is continuing from the treaty. Each party, so that's the individual nations, collaborating with the WHO, shall endeavor towards developing, strengthening, and maintaining national health information systems in accordance with national and/or domestic law, subject to the availability of resources, including through use of relevant international data standards for interoperability as appropriate, based on good data governance for preventing, detecting, and responding to public health events. So basically, collect your data, and we're going to share it with one another. That's
use garbage in, garbage out modeling.
Yeah. So that's okay. Each party shall endeavor to strengthen national capacities and designate or establish, as appropriate, national, subnational, and/or regional level multidisciplinary emergency health teams. So bureaucracies. Building on this, the parties shall take measures within their capacities and capabilities in coordination with the WHO and other relevant international and regional organizations, with the aim to strengthen, sustain, and mobilize a skilled, trained, and multidisciplinary global health emergency workforce to support member states, including through deployment upon their request. So that's also bad. Recognizing the importance of building trust and ensuring the timely sharing of information to prevent misinformation, disinformation, and stigmatization. So what they mean by misinformation,
that's bad.
What they mean by misinformation and disinformation, what we understand that to be is true information. So that's the setup. So they're saying recognizing that we need to do everything possible to deal with misinformation by sharing with one another what's going on. Each party shall, as appropriate, take measures to strengthen science, public health, and pandemic literacy in the population, as well as access to transparent, timely, accurate science and evidence-based information on pandemics and their causes, impacts, and drivers, as well as on the efficacy and safety of pandemic-related health products, particularly through risk communication and effective community-level engagement. So, in other words, because we need to stamp out misinformation, we're going to do everything on our power to work together to provide the right information, the science and evidence-based information, so that nations know what to do during pandemics, what to buy, how to communicate, and how to work across different levels of government.
We basically instantiated like what we did during COVID.
And this is what Matt,
the pandemic treaty.
This is what you and I said when they first pitched this a few years ago. When they first pitched the idea, we essentially said that this was the solidification of the COVID era policies
on a global scale,
and that every nation could buy into it.
Yeah. So those disastrous policies that destroyed people's lives and the economy and all those sorts of things, that's now par for the course. And as you saw in the video, all the member states of the UN, which should be immediately abolished and the earth salted over where the UN stands, it is a disgraceful place filled with horrible people. Like, so, I mean, okay, maybe some people think hey, you're being hyperbolic when you're talking about this is health communism. Do you know who Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus is? The director general of the UN or the WHO, pardon me. Do you know who he is? He's literally associated. He's a member of the Tigray People's Liberation Front in Ethiopia, which is like a literal like revolutionary Marxist group. That's who he's associated. Like, he's a communist and he's warm with China. It's been well documented. And this is the guy who is heading up the WHO, under which the entire global order is submitting itself to health communism. We're not speaking hyperbolically. We're just calling a spade a spade. Mm-hmm. And how many times do we do that and then we're proven right, Andrew? Like, yeah, the record, every time is pretty clear. Yeah, like
the answer's every time.
It's crazy. It's crazy. Yeah. But the crazy part is, I mean, I'm sure they were strategic, right? I think this is the third time they tried to pass it, if I'm not mistaken. The other two times it was the heat was too up, things were too volatile. It maybe was still too close to
the member state, I think some of the member states were saying you're exerting too much power. Yes. And then this final product is still too much power, but more palatable power.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, they didn't get what their hearts, I guess, the full extent of what their hearts wanted, but make no mistake that
they're in no rush. They'll play the long game here.
No, 100%. And this is the foot in the door, right? This is the nose under the blanket. I don't know, all those expressions. Like, it's definitely setting a precedent that is extremely dangerous. And the WHO and the amazing part to me, Andrew, is like the UN and the WHO are abject failures as groups. Everything they touch turns to crap. And we keep giving them more responsibilities and more power.
But that's how it works, Matt. That's what we do in Canada with the CBC.
Of course.
That's what because you need to grow the bureaucracy. You need to increase the managerial state. You need to line the pockets of your buddies.
Mm-hmm.
You need to waste tax dollars in the process, and you need to make sure that the elites get wealthier and everyone else suffers for it. So, of course, they're going to keep supporting it because it's to their benefit.
And that sure sounds like communism to me.
Yeah, that's pretty much Animal Farm.
Yeah, exactly.
So you might be thinking in a similar fashion, okay, well, I mean, my online privacy and security, I'm going to deal with that by getting a really good VPN. But what about my finances? What are my finances and wealth? What are some ideas or suggestions for how I can safeguard that? A great question. Glad you asked. Inflation through the roof.
Grocery prices up 11% year over year.
Censorship of dissident voices. Freezing of bank accounts.
Justin Trudeau invoking emergency powers against the truckers. Banks can now freeze their personal accounts, the accounts of anyone linked to the Freedom Convoy.
Digital surveillance and communism spreading.
What do we want?
Basic income!
With the basic income, and I felt a sense of security because I didn't have to worry about not going hungry, and I didn't have to worry about being kicked out of my apartment.
The government is on the verge of bankruptcy, and they're coming for your money.
Is Canada's federal debt increasing in real time, now surpassing $1.2 trillion. This debt is draining taxpayer dollars, with interest alone costing $54 billion this year.
It's time to break free and start saving in money they can't take from you. Since 2013, the folks at Bull Bitcoin have one mission: destroy central banking. Bull Bitcoin is the most trusted Bitcoin company in Canada. They empower you to buy, sell, and pay bills with Bitcoin. They are 100% non-custodial, which means that you always maintain full control over your Bitcoin, allowing you to reclaim your financial sovereignty and secure your wealth for the future. Their customer support will assist you throughout the whole process, helping you get your hands on the hardest money ever created. Escape their financial gulag, click on the link below, and start buying Bitcoin today and get a $20 bonus as a listener of Liberty Dispatch.
So sick. So sick. Ever sick. Oh, man. Well, Andrew, we have a doozy of an episode for people today.
We also, before I forget to mention, because I didn't put in the script, we have one mailbag question we need to deal with. It's someone who's written to us before. No, we'll do it at the end. He's written before. He seems to not like us very much.
Well, I appreciate him watching.
Sure. He keeps making a fool of himself. Like, we're going to look at his question, and he's like, yeah, he asked me, do you think that you could get into Queen's University? Yeah, I do. What are you talking about? What kind of a question is that? Oh, you think you're so smart you can get into any university in the country you want? Yeah, I do. I do. Yeah, it's not that hard.
Like Queen's University is like an Ivy League school.
Yeah. I lived in Kingston. I remember the people who went to Queens. They couldn't spell basic words. Anyways, Ruth, I'm gonna dunk on that guy later. Let's continue. I just wanted to bring that up now. It's kind of a little bit of an appetizer for that.
Yeah, well, I mean, there's other people that don't like us, Andrew, and there's a bunch of stuff. Just as an aside, as I get older, I think I wear my enemies as a badge now. Like I think I'm accruing enough of them that I think I proudly wear them as a badge because, man, if you're not making enemies in today's chaotic world, I mean, maybe you're just an NPC. I don't know. Pretty crazy stuff, but. We're in June, Andrew, like you said in the intro. So sure enough, the legacy media have to get a hit piece ready on those no good, very bad Christians, right? Because we're in the sacred month of Christian nationalists. June. I know, man. I wonder if these people went to Queens, because I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but man, are they out of their depth when it comes to any of the stuff they're writing on. It's truly crazy. Anyways, the story that we want to bring you is the fact that a state subsidized propaganda outlet has once again, Andrew, published a hit piece on Christian organizations. Clearly it meant, it's literally laid out at the end as the conclusion of the article, to attack their charitable status and lumping in together groups that are not even Christian in their beliefs.
I know the first time I read this, I'm just like, what a maroon. Like, this guy clearly hasn't done a shred of actual work.
He just he basically just reiterated Jonathan it's like he read Jonathan Montpetit's article from the CBC, got worked up, basically plagiarized it, but somehow made it even more muddled. He even did worse journalism. So it's like Jonathan Montpetit has this, really, really big turd, and he just added to it. It's
put a little bit of lipstick on and put a dress on it.
Oh man, it's actually
and that said that the female turd identifies as a male turd. I think that's what we're dealing with.
Yeah. I mean, this is crazy stuff. So in the article, they mentioned plainly Jacob Realm, pastor, friend of the show. He's been on many a time, and his church, Trinity Bible Chapel, Doug Wilson in the CREC, of which I'm an ordained elder in the CREC, and Liberty Coalition Canada, Andrew. They mention us, I guess.
Yeah, we used to work for those guys.
Yeah. But the amazing part is, like I said, I'm pretty sure he just read that CBC article.
Yeah, because if he did his work, he would understand. There is no more LCC.
Yeah. So anyways, but I mean, you still have to put it out there because it's June month. Anyways, when Jacob Realm, our friend and pastor of Waterloo's Trinity Bible Chapel, speaks to his congregation, the better world he conjures includes Canada being annexed by the United States. This is what the article is putting forward. Rayom, who earned his divinity degree at Southern Baptist Theological Seminary, he's a secret American in Louisville, Kentucky, offers his flock an autocratic hero to match his politics. If we appealed to Donald Trump to restore our social and constitutional order by annexing Canada, we would not be too far out of line with our constitutional heritage. Well, he's right about that. How about you just deal with the argument? What should we make of one of Ontario's pastor's strange allegiance to a manifest sinner like Donald Trump as he proselytizes destruction of Canada's democratic government? Start by considering that he is not alone. The author then mentions the New Apostolic Reformation, which is a heretical and heterodox Christian cult from our perspective. So clearly he hasn't done even the most basic level of research or journalism. And he then throws in, because it's all part of the scattergun approach, right? It's a smear campaign. So he's got to smear enough people with whatever label he wants them to, well, even if they're
6 degrees of Kevin Bacon, because apparently Leslyn Lewis is connected with some Canadian member of someone who's a part of the NAR.
Yeah.
And so let's throw it all together.
And it's probably because they don't like to murder babies. Like that's probably their connection. They don't want babies to be murdered. Anyways, then they mention us, Andrew. They mention Leslyn Lewis, and then they go on to mention the Liberty Coalition Canada, which if they did some research, they would know that about a year ago, Liberty Coalition Canada shut down, and we are now just doing Liberty Dispatch by ourselves. But we are the group, which we should probably wear this as a banner.
No,
right?
It's not true, though, but this is what they say.
Which, that's fair. A group that fueled the Freedom Convoy. So,
which is not true, but I don't say that to distance myself from the convoy, but that's clearly untrue.
Yes, no,
I know
exactly. We covered it.
The people that fueled the Freedom Convoy are awaiting their sentencing.
Yes, we covered the convoy, and we had some of the leaders on. We documented it, and we documented it in a friendly light. Basically, one of few outlets that did that, but we didn't start it by any means. I wasn't even there. I stayed in Manitoba the whole time. So, anyways, the author goes on to write this, if you want to hear more of his drivel. Just over a year after the January 6th Okay, come on. Like, he's just grab bag. He's like all the buzzwords, all the...
What he's trying to do is he's trying to... we'll see at the end the argument he makes, but in order to make that argument, his play is to basically throw as much feces as possible at it. That's his goal, and hopefully a bunch of it sticks. That's his play.
Yeah, and this got published, so there you go. January 6th insurrection on January 22nd, 2022, hundreds of trucks and cars departed from locations across Canada.
By the way, I just got to say this. I got to say this. If you want to say the convoy is so bad, why do you continue to downplay it? It was thousands, tens of thousands. It's this super bad Christian nationalist movement with hundreds of trucks. Like, take your pick. You can't have it both ways.
Meanwhile, they celebrate the looting and the rioting of BLM and probably what's going on in LA right now. Their thumbs up to that, to literally Mexican illegal invaders flying their flags of different nations and burning down one of the most populous cities in the United States of America. That's good. That's the good stuff. Trucks in Ottawa, nope. That's a bridge too far. The honking, Andrew. I can still hear the honking.
Phantom honking.
Yeah, of course. Anyways, hundreds of trucks and people, thousands of people across Canada converged on Parliament later on Parliament Hill in Ottawa. They were protesting the end of vaccine mandate exemptions for cross-border truckers. Truckers were in the vanguard, but pastors were close behind. Some were outraged by federal restrictions on church gatherings, rightfully so. They were members of a new group called Liberty Coalition Canada, which was founded in 2021 to oppose COVID-19 restrictions on churches. Well, they got that mostly right. They represent a second strand of Christian theocracy. Well, that's fair. In Canada, related to the doctrine of Reconstructionism. Andrew, are you a nasty, no good, really bad Reconstructionist?
You know what we should do, Matt? I just had this idea.
I mean, I do have Rushdoony books right there. So.
When Jonathan Montpetit released his article, if you remember, we had an episode on where we interviewed Doug Wilson, Joe Boot, and Aaron Rock.
Yeah,
I think we should. After we release this episode, I think the following day we should do a re-release of that episode.
Yeah,
because we deal with this with Pastor Doug. We dealt specifically with this claim of Reconstructionism, and we also addressed that with Joe Boot. And then because Aaron Rock was mentioned in quite detail in the original article by Mr. Montpetit, we should probably, after this goes live, we'll do re-release of that episode with those 3 interviews, because I think
Aaron get off scot-free this time around?
Yeah, they dropped all the charges against him.
No, but I'm saying in this article.
In the article, his name isn't mentioned by name. If you click in the links, you'll go to articles where he is mentioned by name.
Okay, yeah. Because I was like, I don't really remember him being mentioned in it. But anyways,
no, he was not. And it's not. They were members of a new group called Liberty Coalition Canada. No, there was no formal membership. Yes, obviously there were churches that agreed with the work that LCC was doing, but there was no formal membership. There was no role.
It was
like they're trying to make it seem like it's more than it was, and they're trying to create this gigantic boogeyman of Christian theocracy in order to say, and that's why you should take away the charitable status.
Yeah. Oh, 100%.
So he moves on to say that, and you just alluded to this, that Reconstructionism is the fruit of Rushdoony, but he really goes off on the person that he calls a modern day Reconstructionist, and this is the Voldemort of evangelicalism, one Pastor Doug Wilson. So from the article, quote, Reconstructionism is presently associated with Pastor Douglas Wilson and Christ Church in Moscow, Idaho. His goal is the creation of a theocratic state in which traditionalist Christian men lead essential government institutions, which is not.
That sounds pretty base.
but the idea, the way he understands theocracy, that's not what Doug Wilson.
Yeah, and if you want to understand in what sense, like, we're actually talking about theocracy, watch the episode we did with Dr. Boot called "Theocracy is Inevitable," and then you'll actually
know what this guy means, though.
No. Then you'll actually maybe get an education in the inescapable. Principle, the fact that all societies are necessarily founded on a God complex of some sort, and therefore they are at heart theocratic. What we're not calling for is an ecclesiocracy like, medieval Rome or whatever, something like that.
So the article continues, until that occurs, the theocracy, believers should build their own parallel society to avoid the evils of modern day secular society. He works to make Moscow a Christian town. His church runs its own school system and it has a publishing and media interests. He says it like it's a bad thing. Oh, they have their own schools and publishing company? Yeah, so pagans do. Anyways, Liberty pastors have many connections with Wilson and Reconstructionism. A document that was supposed to be secret was exposed to CBC. This stupid document.
Mike Clark.
Yeah. The top secret document that 200 copies were made and were given out freely.
Like, don't nobody had read except for Mike Clark before.
Doesn't Jonathan Montpetit understand he got trolled?
100%.
The top secret document that was strewn across the table. Anyways, so CBC reporter Jonathan Montpetit exposed this thing. The document says it wants to align Canada's laws with biblical principles following Reconstructionism goals. No. Just basically getting us back to, the founding of our nation, when laws and biblical principles were one and the same. Liberty podcasts are hosted by a website run by members of Wilson's Church. I don't know what that means. The Liberty Podcast, a prominent member.
Maybe he's talking about FLF?
I guess, but Liberty Podcasts are hosted. Okay.
Is he talking about us?
He's probably talking about us.
He's probably talking about Liberty Dispatch.
Yeah, there we are. Okay. And maybe the Ezra. Anyways, a prominent member of Wilson's Church attended a Liberty conference. Nope, that's also not true. It wasn't a Liberty conference. It was the Church at War. Okay, so
get it right.
Again, inaccurate. Rayom preached at Christchurch in 2023. Wilson also spoke at an event at the Ezra Institute, a conservative Christian think tank in Grimsby, Ontario, where its founder, Joseph Boot, is a Liberty leader. Again, I don't. Okay. So
Joe also now lives in the United Kingdom.
Yeah, so he finally gets to the real point of the article, which is the argument for why these Christian organizations should have their charitable status revoked. He says this, quote, "Should churches that advocate for the advancement of a kingdom of God and the replacement of duly elected governments with Christian theocracies be considered charitable organizations?" First of all, that's not what we believe. So that, again, that's a lie. That's not what we're saying. We're not saying that. So that's a straw man. He continues, "To be registered as a charity in Canada, an organization must have purposes that are exclusively charitable and conduct activities that further those purposes. The Canada Revenue Agency recognizes 4 categories of charitable purposes: relief of poverty, advancement of education, advancement of religion, and other purposes beneficial to the community. The BC Humanist Association, which apparently they're authoritative, a charitable organization that promotes secularism and human rights, argues that no religious organization should receive charitable status. Why should we privilege religion for charitable purposes at a time when Canada is becoming less religious?" asks BC Humanist Executive Director Ian Bushfield. The gigantic, overwhelming piece of ironic chocolate cake here is that the BC Humanist Association is a religious organization.
Yes.
And secularism is a religion.
Yeah.
And Canada is not becoming less religious. That's not true.
We're just switching religions.
Canada is just putting a new god on the throne. So he's making the case either for the destruction of his own organization or the validation of Christian organizations, because he's saying we're allowed to exist. We promote our religious views, but you can't promote your religious views. He then goes off at the end of the article to say that Trinity last year issued $8 million in charitable receipts. Again, just as a way of saying, oh, look how bad they are and unaccountable they are.
Yeah. Or they just are a large church with a lot of people that give a lot of money. And basically, charitable law in Canada has always recognized the advancement of religion as a charitable purpose based off of, I mean, a long history. These 4 criteria for the charitable status in Canada, they have a very, very long history in British common law. So, I mean, they're laid out. I might actually link on this topic, Mike, our old former colleague at LCC, who was also mentioned in the article. He did 2 recent interviews with Barry Bussey on charitable status, and they're very good episodes. Barry's really good on this stuff. He has a long career helping churches and conservative political organizations and whatnot deal with charitable status and the politics of it and everything. So I think it would just be very helpful for everybody to read. But this is the play, and this is designed again. I mean, coordinated, right? Last year it dropped right before, like literally June 1 last year. So right in the same range right when we're celebrating the high feasts of the new religion, of pure pluralistic multiculturalism and secularism. And at that time, we have to call out the heretics and we have to call out the blasphemers who will not get on board with our new religious order. But the funny part, though, is don't tell anybody, but the motto of the nations from Psalm 72, Canada literally used to be called the Dominion of Canada after
it still
Psalm
is
72.
That's still
technically
our legal name.
Yeah. So exactly. Literally in our national anthem, which is a prayer, we asked for the triune God, who's the living God, the only one true God, to keep our land glorious and free. That's what we ask for. We beseech him. We invoke him in prayer every time we sing our national anthem. Our charter, is bad as it is, still has at the front of it as the preamble that it's all predicated. All our entire legal system is predicated upon the supremacy of God and the rule of law. These are principles that are Christian principles. I'm sorry that our friends are either liars and manipulators or they're ignoramuses. They're ignorant of the tradition of Canada. But I'm sorry, this is the nation you live in. This is our heritage.
They're both liars and they're ignorant.
Yes.
Both are true. And this is why we get what we get. And,
no, exactly.
You know, pieces like this, they're not going to have any real.
We should ask this guy on. I think we tried to get Jonathan Monpetit to come on, and I don't think he took us up on that.
No, he wanted to interview us for the hit piece, and we agreed we're just not going to entertain it at all because it's just going to run the risk of him being able to spin it and edit it to his credit. So
why would anybody think that?
we should ask this guy if he wants to come on our show. That'd actually be really good.
Yeah.
Reach out to him.
Let's get some of the facts straight. It seems like you literally read one article and then you went to print with this, and you're like, your facts are way off. You're totally out of your depth on any of the theological stuff. So I mean, you're more than welcome to take it back, or at least come on the show and learn something. That's what we would put out to the. What's the guy's name who wrote the article? Do you have it in front of you? It's from the Tyee, or how do you say that?
I don't care. It's Donald Gutstein.
All right, Gutstein, come on the program.
He's a former professor in the School of Communication at SFU. SFU.
I don't know. It's Simon Fraser University. Yeah,
I don't know. I for some reason I saw STFU. I'm like, that sounds about right.
Okay. Yeah,
he's the author of The Big Stall, Harperism, and 3 other books on links between corporations, politics, and media.
Yeah. He's probably a Marxist. Gutstein. All right, Gutstein, come on the program. Have a conversation. You might learn something. You would never get into Queens or Simon Fraser or anything like that. You're not an ignoramus, Andrew. You can't get into our prestigious schools in Canada.
So I just want to, before I get into that, I want to just sing about this hit piece. Yeah, all they're doing. So the majority of the article is just stuff that's rehashed from several years ago.
Oh, I mean, it's brutal.
And the launching pad into it are some of the recent comments made by Jacob and others regarding what's happening in Canada and Donald Trump. And it's just this, like you said, this is a strategically timed release. There is growing talk. I think that the Standing Committee on Finance recently told the federal government that their recommendation would be removing the advancement of religion as being one of the 4 purposes for which a charity can exist. Mm-hmm. So that's the play here. And we should probably link, because again, I'm all about shameless self-promotion, but I wrote an article called "With the Shekels Come the Shackles," And in the article, I outlined specifically what the consequence of a charitable organization having its charitable status revoked, what those consequences are.
It's called the revocation tax.
Well, it's very serious, and it's a big deal. And though I don't think that this article will do anything to drive that ball further down the field, that play is going to run however it's run. So this article isn't going to, increase anything. It might have the effect that the previous, although CBC is a much bigger outlet than this, whatever this thing is, that after that CBC article was released, a number of these pastors and churches did have some kind of threats and calls of a dangerous variety made to them. So I don't know if this will have that effect, but this is just their way of, like you said, pointing out the blasphemers. And, the article is nonsense and garbage. I don't think it's anything that anyone should be worried about, but this is what they think about us. And
Andrew,
here's the thing.
It's amazingly lazy.
Well, but hold on. This is what they think about our country. And this is this is the takeaway, that they're painting a picture of all these spooky, scary Christians trying to push something that is so un-Canadian that will be so damaging to everyone, not realizing that the thing that we're all pushing for are the foundations upon which our country stands. Like, all we're doing is we're saying Canada should be what it was meant to be and what it was designed to be, a country that honors the Lord and that's built on biblical principles. So if that's what they hate, then the article, the author's admitting he actually hates Canada, and he doesn't want to see Canada as it should be. He wants to remake Canada in his own image as something that it isn't. So they actually have disdain for Canada.
Especially historically wasn't. We're going to that way, right? The issue's never the issue. The issue is always the revolution. And that's what the argument is. That is what we're fighting for, right? They've hollowed out what Canada used to be, and they've been wearing around Canada and its institutions as a hollowed out skin suit underneath of which you have this Marxist leftist revolution happening, but it still has the pomp and the circumstance and the tradition of what Canada used to be. And then some of us are like, no. Let's get rid of this cancer that is this Marxist revolution in Canada, and let's reanimate the corpse with the values and the principles and ultimately the religious root of what the nation used to be. And it was founded on for centuries upon centuries upon centuries. We're not the revolutionaries, my friends. You're the revolutionaries. Why don't you own it? Why don't you stop lying? But the problem is, if you don't stop lying, then it would give credence to our position, because people would be like, oh yeah, wait a second. I guess every time I do sing the Canadian national anthem, I do ask God to keep the land glorious and free. And historically, that God wasn't the God of multiculturalism and pluralism. It was the specific Christian God. And even even if you read authors from the Enlightenment, right? Like I'm thinking of Hobbes. He's not even a Christian. He's a total statist nut. But he even believed that the only true religion, though he was not a Christian and he didn't claim to be one, in the history of the world was Christianity. Like, that's the error that even, right, they want to point to the Enlightenment as being somehow, akin to what we're seeing in our modern secularist movement. But it's like even prominent non-Christian Enlightenment thinkers recognize that Christianity was unlike any other religion and that it was the religion that built the West, right? I'm sorry that they're delusional idiots who wish history wasn't the way that it was and wish Christianity wasn't a central driving force of Western civilization, but it is.
Yeah,
it has been, and it will be again.
Sorry, you can't change the past.
No, and it will be again, because God's kingdom will not stop. The advance of his kingdom will go forth. It cannot be thwarted because it's not in our own strength and according to our intellect, our abilities. It's the zeal of the Lord of hosts that will do this. And that's our great hope. So,
well, let's close off. Let's close off on a good note. So, the last time Mr. Norm wrote into us, he wrote this.
Hello,
so this
Norm.
was an episode, January, February, March, April. So this was March episode. Norm wrote this. He emailed us this. Do you have anything good to say about anyone? You have the nerve to call yourself Christians? Really? Look at what you put on social media. And I responded back by saying, the last 3 posts are all like talking about God's sovereignty and Bible verses. And like, what are you talking about, Norm? And he said, no. Before that, you criticized politicians. I'm like, yeah, but that's only a minority of what we did. And then he kind of, I don't know what he did. So Norm's back. And
appreciate keep watching, Norm.
Yeah,
Appreciate
keep watching.
it.
You're wrong. Keep watching. So Norm said this. Where does Canadian education stand in the world ranking if it's so bad? Let's deal with that first, okay? So 2 questions. That was his first question. That's a great question, Norm. You should have looked it up before you emailed. So according to, we have here World Population Review. This is education rankings by country in 2025. According to this, Canada ranks where is it here? Number 19. Now, you might think 19 is not so bad. Considering the other countries in the world, and so let's see who's ahead of us in education, okay? So, I mean, South Korea, Denmark, Netherlands, Belgium, Slovenia, Japan, Finland, okay, that's fine. China, Hong Kong, France is falling apart. Australia has literally become the prison that it was in the past. A lot of these European countries are, I mean, Germany's a nightmare. So we're number 19. So we just barely make the top 20. Now you might say top 20 is pretty good. Well, the problem is when you're playing that kind of comparison game, it doesn't work. So, you might say to me, what is, how would you rank yourself as a particular type of animal feces? Okay. You might say, well, we're not camel feces. Those are bad. We're just dog feces. So that's pretty good. No, it's still bad. It's still bad, still terrible. So if you're going to say that, oh, we're number 19, we're really, really good. No, that doesn't mean we're good. That just means that if education institutions worldwide are failing because they're being corrupted by wokeism and communism,
which they
then it doesn't matter. You could be number 1. If you're number 1 out of all the worst, it's irrelevant.
Yeah.
Okay. If you have an Olympic competition, let's assume the average run time for the 100-meter dash for men is 8 seconds, right? 9 seconds. The average Olympic man can run the 100-meter dash in 9 seconds. And then you have an Olympic competition. And then you win the Olympics that year. Your time was 14 seconds. Haha, I'm the best in the world. No, you're just the best among the worst. You're not the best. So we're 20th among a lot of bad ones. So first of all, that's where we're at.
And that's a really bad way to judge like anything, right? We're talking about like when we're comparing things relative to other things, we're not actually looking at an objective standard, and that's what you're talking about. And we've seen that modern education has been adopted across the world, and consciously Marxist and progressive. And what has that led to? Well, it has led to worse education overall. I mean, anybody who spends any time in education knows that things are bad. Anybody.
Yep.
Anybody. So, it's a it might make you feel good.
Well, here, how about this?
Like you
How
said.
about this? Let's just deal with this, okay?
Mhm.
In the latest international comparison study, 48% of Canadian adults are considered to have inadequate literacy skills.
Yeah.
The percentage includes 31.7% at level 2. Okay, so Canada's average literacy score was 271, which was considered above the OECD average of 259. But the country ranked in the top 10 in all three skills domains is 2022 PIAAC. So we have the literacy rate in Canada for adults age 16 and above is considered lower than many people might think, even though Canada is generally viewed as a highly literate society. So not good. The question is not good. The question is not good.
Below and I must say too, like those standards have been so greatly diminished.
Right.
That they're not even like right. If you ever read, I would suggest, Norm, don't listen to us. Pick up How to Read a Book by Mortimer Adler, and he talks about how basically we've so minimized reading capabilities and standards in society that nobody actually gets beyond like the most basic level of actual literacy and reading in our society. And he's not a Christian. He's just a literary guy. He's just a philosopher and a bookish man. But he knows that there's been a great diminishment of education in our culture, and the standards keep going down and down. And it doesn't help if you, as you say, Andrew, to change the goalposts and then also compare ourselves to, a moving target. Like that's not how you judge whether
So that's the
something's
first question.
objectively good or not.
That's the first comment is where does Canada stand if we're so bad, which is a lead into a second question. Could you get into your local university, an Ivy League school called Queen's? Yes. Yeah, without a doubt. No issue. I don't understand what kind of a gotcha that was. Like, I don't want to pull up my high school transcripts, but I can tell you, Norm, they're pretty freaking good. So I would have had no problem. Like, I don't want to boast here, but I can tell you, my last year in high school, I crushed, Normie. Like, I crushed.
Yeah, it's like
not just the marks. I think I took every possible award you could take. Like, that's not a self brag, but that's saying, Norm, I don't think you understand who you're talking to here. Like, I'm not some dum-dum. And the reality is there are people who are of average intelligence and maybe below who get into Queen's. It's not a problem.
Literally, my brother-in-law graduated from Queen's University. Like, basically, all his friends, the guys that he lives with, were graduates of Queen's University. They don't think that they're the top intellects in the entire world. Like they don't wear it.
Coffee shop. This was years ago. I was sitting in a coffee shop and I commented on this on social media.
We've literally had like Queen's professors on the show where we're talking to them and conversing on their level. So Norm, just tune in.
This is maybe it's probably I would say this about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I was in a coffee shop doing some work on my computer. And I overheard some Queen students having a discussion. This is 10 years ago. And they were having a discussion. They were struggling, like with all of their might, to spell the word conscience. It was like they were really having a hard time.
The prefix con is C-O-N and then science.
They were struggling over it, and they needed to consult a dictionary. And I'm sitting there listening to them struggle. I'm listening to these, 19, 20-year-olds struggle on how to spell the word conscience. And I remember sharing on social media, what did I say? I said, something like, I mourn for our educational system and the fruit of it. That was 10 years ago. So I mourn even more now.
Yeah, well, like Queens is a good university, but it's a really good university when it comes to business, right? And business acumen, stuff like that. Like that's what Queens is really, like that's where the big high paying jobs, the real experts come out of that. It's not, the philosophy department and stuff like that. That's the best in the world. There's a clear divide in Queens too about like the actual like business school majors and like those who are in actual like good careers and stuff like that, and then the artsy fartsy libs. Like there's a huge divide there. So yeah, I mean, Queen's University, I didn't have good enough marks, but that's because I played in punk rock bands and I wasn't a Christian.
So Norm, we appreciate you watching the show. Always appreciate the questions and the feedback. Any opportunity to slam dunk on you, I'll take. It brightens up my day.
Also, that's just silly. Come on, Norm. Don't be silly. Don't be immature. Okay. Do you guys have a prestigious degree from Queens? Okay. Whatever, Norm. Anyways, that was a fun show.
Yeah.
It's always good when you're slandered by losers. And
well, not you, Norm. I'm not talking about you,
Norm. I was talking about the guy who wrote the article.
Yeah, not
Norm,
you.
appreciate you listening.
You're just wrong, Norm. That's okay.
Yeah.
You got an edge. You got a chip. That's okay. I mean, I don't. Maybe you really like the conservative. You really like the Conservative Party, or I don't know, something. But that's okay.
Yeah. We make everybody angry. That's okay. Andrew, good show. It was fun.
Yeah, we'll have
to say by way of conclusion.
No, just I remind people that we need to link to the 3-for-1 interview we did.
Yes,
with Doug Wilson, Joe Boot, and Aaron Rock.
I'll send the link. We'll put before. Do you remember what I called that?
No, but we'll find it.
It's
and then
CBC
I also have
something. CBC, respond to CBC or something.
Yeah, and then my article on charitable status, we'll have to link to that as well.
If you could send me that link, that'd be great.
I'll send that. Yeah, and guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for taking in. We're sorry that this is the state of our country, but that's okay. We're not worried, and we'll. I just finished writing an article, my first one, that actually it just released as of time of recording. As of time of recording, it releases. It would have been 2 days ago. As of time of recording tomorrow, as of time of release, it'll be a day ago. Whereas my first article on Pride comes before Destruction Month. And at the end of the article, I basically say, the silver lining in all of this is that if we continue to obey God, educate our own children, and be faithful and fruitful, we'll be just fine.
Yeah. No, exactly. That's the thing. Like, looking at all of everything that's going on in LA, seeing how everybody's like, the world's burning. It all seems crazy. I've never been more sure and steadfast, just go about our faithful plan in obedience to the Lord. And Christians have conquered in all sorts of circumstances through faithfulness to our Lord and King. And that's what we have to do, guys. Just remain faithful. Keep building culture. Keep building those churches that freak out the CBC, that create these libs wanting to burn their hair and freak out. Maybe as a church, you got to reconsider what the charitable status situation looks like and figure out all those situations. I will, again, link in the description as well some of those conversations that Mike had with Barry Bussey, because I think they will be profitable to you. And until next time, everybody, Galatians 5:1. God bless you all.
Liberty Dispatch has been brought to you by SDG Media. If you want to stay in touch with us on all things Liberty Dispatch, join our email list, or support the show, head over to ldcanada.substack.com.